Hey everybody, welcome to BMore Brooklyn. I think I did something totally wrong. Y'all probably didn't even hear the music playing.
No.
Gilbert, you should have sent me a text.
I didn't know. I thought you were still setting up. I'm sorry.
I'm over here rocking to the music, right? And then I just looked down. I'm like, oh shoot, my mic was muted the whole entire time. But anyway, y'all, this is live, so sometimes that happens. I apologize. This is my third show that I've been engineering tonight, and I've been doing some other stuff. Mondays are a rough day.
You lost the hour, so know I know you adjust into the new time.
True. Yeah, that's true. Like I'm just, and I come from my mom's house on Monday, so I'm just like all discombobulated. But anyway, everybody, we got a great show tonight. I'm super excited. We have a gentleman on. Sergeant Burnett, we got him on tonight, and he's from Richmond, Virginia. So I don't really know him, but somebody called me last week and they gave me a really good, oh my goodness, they painted this really wonderful picture of you, Sergeant Burnett. And I was like, you know what? I'll go, we got to just get him on and talk to him. So I live in Baltimore. Gilbert is in
Brooklyn.
He's in Brooklyn. So this show is called BMore Brooklyn. And, so we're happy to have you on. We really are. We're happy to have you on. Shout out to Patrick. I think his name is William too, right?
Patrick William Bruno.
Okay, yeah. And so his name is, he was the one that called me and told me that you were running for office in Virginia. You're running for sheriff in Richmond, Virginia. So, we're going to get into that, and we're going to talk about some stuff because, right now in our country, it's a lot of stuff going on with Black men, our Black boys, mass incarceration, and all that stuff. So we want to kind of get a feel for what's going on where you are, so we can understand. And then we're going to put your information on the ticker near the end. So for the people who are in the Richmond area, you'll know when to vote and who to vote for after we finish the show. All right.
And just to clarify, I was a former sergeant. I was a sergeant with the Richmond Police Department, a colonel for the Sheriff Department. but I'm formally at this time. I'm not a sergeant on the department anymore.
Oh, okay. So what's your official title now?
It's just William Burnett. Yes,
Oh, okay.
I'm just a candidate right now. I did
Gotcha.
28 years in law enforcement in the city of Richmond, and I served the Richmond Police Department for a large portion of that time, where I was a sergeant on the department then. I left in 2006 and went over to the sheriff department, where I was second in charge. I was the colonel for the sheriff department in Richmond. So
Okay.
at this time, I have taken a leave from all of that to focus strictly on my campaign for sheriff. Right. So I'm just candidate Burnett at this time for the sheriff of the city of Richmond.
Got it. Okay. Wow, you said 28 years. You look young to be on the force. You said for 28 years. Wow.
Yeah, 28 years. Served a couple of years in the military, a few years in the military also.
Okay, they say black don't crack, so that's what's up.
How did you get interested in law enforcement? Was it something you just went into after the military, or it's something that you always wanted to do?
It was the funniest thing ever, and I'll try to make it real brief. I was at a party on my campus in college, and I was at the time where I was out of a job, just graduated from college, just left the military, and I was at a party that night, drinking by fraternity and all that kind of stuff. Got up the next morning, Richmond Police Department was on our campus recruiting. So they said, hey, take this test and see how you do. I didn't have a job. At the time, I didn't even like the police. So I took the test, did very well on it, went up to Richmond that following week, and they hired me on the spot. I had no intent on being here 28 years. I thought I would be here maybe 5 years and get out of this line of work and move on to something else that I really wanted to do. But law enforcement was the last thing on my mind at that time.
Okay.
Wow. And so you went out and you're coming back in now.
Well, I've only taken a short leave. I've only been out maybe 3 months. I did that because I'm running full time as a candidate for my position in the city of Richmond. And you can't run a campaign like this in a real campaign.
Active duty.
Right. So I decided that it was best for me to leave the department. I've been gone for about 3 months, and I'm focused solely on my campaign. So that's why I'm out. But it's only been a short time.
Okay. Now, what's the climate like down there? Because I'm in Baltimore, where we got high crime here. You got to run everywhere, make sure you don't get hit. But what is the climate like in Richmond? Because I think when we're in the North, and I think sometimes when we think of the South, we don't think of it as much crime and, mass incarceration and all that stuff is going on. So what is it like there?
Well, I will tell you this. Back in the early 90s, when I first came onto the police department, whether you know it or not, per capita, we were #1 in the nation for homicides.
Wow.
This was the early 90s, and we kept that title for probably around until about 1997. We were either 1 or 2 for homicide. But things have gotten a whole lot better due to some good chiefs that we've had that came along, and then we had some that didn't do as well. But we've turned our crime around in the city of Richmond. It's a lot of work to still be done. It's a lot of things that we got to reform. And I'll talk a little bit about the situation when it comes to black on white crime, not crime, but violence when it comes to police officers and our black community. But the climate in Richmond, we were the Confederacy capital, and I would tell you that during these recent riots that we had, we didn't get to the levels like Baltimore or Brooklyn or New York, but it was quite rough here also. But things have gotten tremendously better. We were the capital for Confederate monuments in Virginia. Most of those have been taken down at this point, but that brought some issues between the police and the community and those protesters. But things have gotten a lot better than what they were.
So you say you've been with Richmond Police Departments for 28 years?
I was with the police department for 17 years, and then I was with the sheriff department for 12 years.
For 12.
That's in the same, in the same city. So it's a little bit over 28 going into 29th year.
And what were some of the things that you found challenging throughout the years as far as being a Black person on the police force, whether it be with your own co-workers or with the community?
I think it was more challenging for me earlier on when the crime was really high. And that was because I hated seeing our community suffering the way it was. I was big on drug enforcement. I was hard when it came to, my people not being able to come out on their front porch and sit, the kids not being able to run and play without guys running by shooting the neighborhood up. That's how bad it was in the early 90s. I mean, and that was really the most challenging part, because the more you arrested people, and I would tell you, I'll back up a little bit. When I first came on, I was young. I had just gotten out of college. I was gun-ho. I thought it was all about arresting people and putting them in jail and then throwing the key away. And then I met this guy on the department, and he changed my whole mindset. And I knew that you couldn't arrest the problem away no more. You couldn't, if you arrested one person, it was going to be another one out there to take its place. You also couldn't blame the police for it. And, we've gotten to the point where we blame a lot of things on policing. And we just did across the country, we just did a statistic. They did a study that found that in most Black communities across the country, 85% of the Black communities either want the police or they want the police more than what they have them now. So we can't do without policing. We can't say that we want to, I would tell you this, we can't say that we want to defund the police. I'm going to tell you that the issue that happened out there in Minnesota with an officer, and everybody wants to jump on the training piece. You tell me yourself, what did that incident have to do with training? That was just a bad police officer. It had nothing to do with training. And the first thing that we want to do is hop on the police and say, well, we need to train the police more. No, we need to hold people more accountable. We need to hold the police officers accountable, the bad ones that's out there. We need to hold the lawyers accountable that hold evidence and have it in hand and don't bring it forth. Those Commonwealth attorneys or DAs and all that kind of. We got to hold people to the fire and hold them more accountable. We got to hold politicians to that. A lot of them will come around when it's time for the vote, being Black churches, and they want to be there and they want to be seen, and then you don't see them for the next 4 years. They put nothing in place to really do what should be being done in the Black community. So, my idea of doing things is, one, I'm not a politician. I never wanted to be a politician. I'm not one, but I do care about the community that I work in. And, I've always cared. And so the reason being that I'm here today talking about running for sheriff is because I think that our sheriff department has become almost an unused resource.
Okay, let me send you the link because I'm on the show right now.
We should play a larger role in the things that we do throughout our city. And the only way we do that is we got to get good leaders in place. But we got to get leaders in place that really care about the community and not care about getting to the next level. We got a lot of politicians out there that their main goal is, I'm sheriff today, but I'm gonna be mayor next week. Next week I'm gonna be lieutenant governor. Next week I'm gonna be on city council, and they looking for their next platform. We got to get people in place that's gonna actually do what their people elect them to do, and not for their own self-preservation.
Right.
Sorry, LadyJ. As a person who looks at candidates for whatever position that they campaigning for, um, a lot of people say what they're going to do and what they're going to change, and then when they do get into that position, it's nothing. You know, what do you want to tell people that is going to be different about if they was to put you in that position, and how you're going to take that action?
Well, one of the things I would tell people, I've always said that you got to look into a person's background. Don't Every politician that comes before us and want to get elected, they tell you everything you want to hear. They
Yeah.
tell you all the wonderful. I can tell you a million things right now, but what does that mean really? The only way you're gonna really find out about a person is you got to go into their background, see where they came from. I mean, even digging down to their family roots and see what type of person they are. I can look at some politicians sometimes, and I can tell when they talking about all these wonderful things, using all the cliches, partnership and this and that, all of the catchphrases. But you got to really go into a person's background and find out what they did before they get into that position. Because once they get into the position, it makes no difference at that point. They're there, and it's hard to get them out. So you got to look into a person's background. I tell you, my background, I come from a very humble background. My parents didn't have much of nothing. I remember days I laugh about it. Now, I didn't know how poor I was until I left my neighborhood, because everybody around me was the same. So we thought that was normal. Right. And we get a lot of these guys that'll tell you these same old stories about I'm struggling and I did all this all my life. But you really got to go into their backgrounds and see what they're talking about. You can tell when a person is genuine, what they're talking and how they really feel. One of the programs that I would tell you that takes me back to my childhood is my friend that I grew up when he was 5 years old. Me and him grew up from 5. We both 50 something now. And me and him went two different paths. He went to the path of having opportunities but didn't take them, and ended up on the wrong track. And I went the other way, and I went to military, to college, and all that. Neither one of us had anything, but we had the mindset that we gonna choose the path that we really want to go to.
Right.
So he did his thing, got into several incidents, run-ins with the police. He went to prison a couple of times, but he got out. And I remember the day he got out, did drugs and all that kind of stuff. And he got out, and I remember he told me, he said, "This is it for me." He said, "When I get out this time, the first thing I'm gonna do is get bounced back, put on my license to you." I said, "Bounce back?" I said, "What that mean?" He said, "Because this is the last time I'm going back to what I've been doing all my life." So the program that I came up with, if the name is going to be Bounce Back. When I'm elected, that's going to be Bounce Back. It's going to be my theme program. And the reason it's going to be because it's going to give people like him an opportunity to bounce back from a bad situation and give them a chance to move forward. So I'm going to hire people in the sheriff department myself, not being a hypocrite by asking other people to do it out in the community. I can't be a sheriff and say that I want you to hire this guy, he's getting out, and then I don't do the same thing if I ain't pushing for the same thing. So I've already created in my mind a number of set positions that I'm going to have ready and available for the first 10 people that when I'm elected, those positions are going to be ready and available for people that really need an opportunity to bounce back and do a good thing. Now,
for ex-offenders?
Ex-offenders, that's okay. Right.
Wow.
And the thing about it is, I'm not saying that I'm going to give them a gun. Let me make that clear, because some of them can't carry guns because they convicted felons. But they work in my community relations unit. Those units that's going to be out there in the streets to give that working partnership and thing that we really need. See, we've gotten away from policing, community policing. That went out the window with all its protesting. And matter of fact, even before that, it's going out the window. The only way we're gonna start getting that community policing back is we got the one. It's got to be both sides. It can't be one-sided. It can't be all police and it can't be all citizens. But we got to get people out of the cars, the police officers out of the cars and on the feet and moving around and talking. when I was a young officer on my beat, I got out of my car, and I don't care where it was. It could have been the housing projects, it could have been the rich neighborhoods, or it could have been whatever neighborhood it was. But I got out my car, and I'd walk up on the people's porch, and I just started talking to them. And they knew me in the community. They knew me. They knew when I worked. They knew what I remember one of the former chief of ours, Jerry Oliver, created this Mosley Court unit. This Mosley Court, we were having shootings left and right. People were being killed. He took 6 of us and dropped us in that neighborhood. And he said, and we were handpicked, and he put us in that neighborhood. And he said, I want you to go out there. I ain't looking for you to make no arrests. I ain't looking for you to go out there and be hard with nobody. I want you to get out there and know the community. He said, once you know the community, the rest of the problems don't cease to exist. And he was right, because once we got out there in Mosley Court, and I started knowing people and started meeting them and playing cards on the corner spades with them and all that kind of stuff. And I was a police officer, and I'm on the corner playing spades with the people out on the street. Once I got that down, the shootings ceased to exist, calls for service dropped. If it was a shooting going to be involved, I knew about it before it happened, because somebody was going to call me and tell me. And I was able to intervene before it even happened. So we got to get back to that type of community policing. We got to get back out there on the streets. We got to get back out there walking. But the public has to play a role in that. They got to get behind. We've also got to get past all of this rioting and all of that kind of stuff. We got to get past that, because if we don't get past the past, then we ain't gonna move forward. And as long as we harp on, and I'm not saying the George Foreman is a bad thing and all that kind of stuff, but I'm saying if we don't get past that piece, then we're gonna continue to keep complaining about each other. The citizens gonna complain about the police gonna complain about the citizens, and we're gonna get nowhere. And the people that's gonna suffer the most, I tell people all the time, the people that suffer the most by people saying defund the police, take the police out, get rid of this and get rid of that. I think I in New York, I'm not in that leadership role or none of that, but getting rid of more police officers does nothing but hurt our Black community. Because who need the police more than anybody? The Black community.
Right.
They need the police more than any race out there, because unfortunately we got the high crime. I was looking at the stats before I talked to you. In the city of Richmond, we have about 226,000 people to 228,000, somewhere along in there, and 75% of the African Americans make up the incarceration rate. And you got 10% of your Latinos, and you got 15% of the others. 75%. Who do the police come in contact with most? The African American community. We have got to get past all of the going back and forth with each other. We got to build a bridge, but we got to build a real bridge. We can't go to community meetings just to stand up before people and just because that's the thing to do. That's not community policing. We got to get our officers back out on the street. We got to get them back out there walking. We got to get them out there talking. And the only way to do that, and that's going to help forge that relationship. That's going to create that bond between, but it's got to be genuine. But the only way that happens is you got to have genuine leadership. You got to have leadership that's going to push that goal. That's when I get in the sheriff department, my goal is going to be to focus on community. But it's going to be also, the sheriff department, let me say this, back up a little bit. Sheriff department in Richmond has been nothing but a warehouse. That's all they do. They're warehousing people. People go to jail and they leave, most of them leave out there worse than they came. It was a time in Richmond that we had all kind of programs. I don't know if y'all heard about the father-daughter dance. Program. That started in Richmond, in the Richmond Sheriff's Office under Sheriff C.T. Woody when I was his lieutenant colonel at the time. That was one of the best programs in the world, because it kept, the only way that you're going to get those guys to change your mindset, you got to use every trick in the bag, meaning you got to use a family too. you got to use that child. You bring that child in there and you don't want to see, and you put him in a suit and they're in there dancing in a ballroom type setting. And the last thing that he's thinking on his mind, I need to be back out there with my children, not in some jail. And it created that bond with that child. And I'm telling you, that was one of the best programs. It was a win-win for everybody, because if even one inmate didn't repeat, that was money saved for the taxpayers that we didn't have to spend out. But it also was a bond that was created for our that family. And my campaign has been about, and I got this from a Latino that I have a big, huge following of Latino. And I got that, and I told him, I said, I went to him and I asked him, I said, tell me how I can help the Latino community. I said, I don't speak Spanish. I say it's very few of y'all in the city jail at this time. But tell me, I said, he said the biggest way you can help us is by focusing your campaign on family. And from that point on, when he explained to me, he said, we love our country, but most of us come over here to make it better for our family.
Right.
So he told me, he said that I would, he said, when he told me about family, that changed another portion of my campaign. And I start focusing, everything I do is about family. That's why when you go on my Facebook page, I'm not hiding behind just political pictures. You see my daughter, you see my mama, you see my sister, you see my brother, you see my cousin, you see my friends, you see my background. I don't hide none of that stuff, because people should know who you are. And the only way they're going to know who you are is you got to put it out there. But you got to be genuine, and you got to be a true leader when it comes to doing the right thing by cities. Unfortunately, we got a lot of cities that are just not doing it.
Mm-hmm. So I got a few questions for you. Man, I don't know where to start. I got a whole bunch of them, but let me backtrack a little bit, because again, like I said, I live in Baltimore, and I'm listening to everything you say. And I see a lady on here. Her name is Van. She lives in Baltimore as well. So I'm kind of feeling what she's saying as well, because where we live in Baltimore, it's really hard for us to even understand what you're saying about the relationship with the police and the community. Like here, we have a stop snitching, no snitching rule. So somebody could get killed or shot right in front of somebody, and they're not going to say anything, because we've had problems with a lot of police corruption. So tell the police what's going on, they'll tell that person who snitched, and people before going to court have been killed. Children have been killed. It's anything goes here. And so I do agree with you when you say, we shouldn't defund the police. I do agree with that.
I do too.
But here where I live at, there's no, and I hate to say it this way, but there's no real love for the police. So Van had put in there in earlier, like, officer friendly left a long time ago. It's like gotten to the point where there's no trust with the citizens when it comes to the police. And our police here, we've lost about 500 or 600 police officers because they get beat up, because they are attacked, or things happen to them that shouldn't happen. And every officer is not bad, but I think it's just gotten to the point that there's no trust and there's no love for police officers. And so I do hear what you're saying. For me, maybe because it's a different area, and it can work there, but I don't even understand what we can do here in the city. And I said this on the last show, a couple shows ago. I'm a single mom. My son is 25 years old. And the biggest fear for us in Baltimore is that our sons don't come back home. We have police out here, but at the same time, because my son wears his hair in dreads, and because, he might be playing his music in his car, it doesn't matter that he's a college graduate. It doesn't matter that he's not out here in the streets, but he's put into that target group with all of the other African American young men. So a lot of mothers here, we in Baltimore, like the biggest fear is waiting for your son to come home, you know, and we don't feel like all the time we can call the police for help. And so, you know, I'm loving what you're saying, and I hope that works in Richmond. Maybe you can come here, you know, and help us out, help us out up here. But you know, and I see that she's writing a lot of stuff in here. And we're going to get to the comments, everybody. I just wanted to give him time to talk and answer those questions and comments.
I would tell you that Baltimore, you're right, is a different city, and I have kept up with the y'all have had a number of corrupt situations there, and that, and I would, if they would say, I want to hire you as a chief of police for Baltimore. First thing you're gonna have to do is it's the same concept, but it's on a grander scale with Baltimore. But you're gonna have to get the leadership intact first, because people are gonna follow the leaders. I mean, you're gonna have to hold people accountable when officers do things that they're wrong. You got to hold them accountable. You can't wait to publicize it. You got to put it out there to the public. It has to be a city that size, you got to be very transparent, and that's the key with anybody. If I show you that I'm running down the street, a guy turn around and shoot at me, I shoot it back at him, and kill him because he shot at me. Justified shooting. I'm talking about a justified shooting. I ain't talking about a shooting that was off. It shouldn't have happened. But a justified shooting. First, the police department has to be immediately got to be transparent. They got to come out there. But with their transparency, you got to get your leadership out there. When I was a colonel, and it just me, you got to lead by example. I would be in the back of the jail sometimes with the inmates, and I would be buffing the floors and they looking around, people coming by, Colonel, why are you out here buffing floors? I say, because I can do the same thing they can. I'm no better than them. You got to get yourself out there as a leader in an agency that size. He can't have an office. His office has to be on the street. His office has to be in every community in the city of Baltimore. If I was chief of police up there, I wouldn't have no office in Baltimore. I would be in every high crime area in the city of Baltimore. Every high crime area. And you would see me, and I would be walking, and I wouldn't be walking with no army or police with me. I'd be out there letting the people know that, we have to change our mindset. But then also the leadership under you, you got to change their mindset. If you don't fit, if you're not part of my agenda in changing the city of Baltimore, the community, and going out there and trying to do what's right for the community, then you got to go. That's my mindset.
How likely is that to happen? Because like this has been an issue for the longest, as long as I can remember, and I think it's just more prominent because of people have cameras and social media, and it's easier to spread the news, and I just feel like it's a mindset within police departments across the country where they protect their own. So whether it's right or wrong, we protect our own. And I hear your ideology. Like, we would love for that to happen. Right. But how likely is that?
The unfortunate part about it, whether it be a small city, because if you look at a lot of these shootings that happen, a lot of them ain't in the big cities. I ain't saying all of them, but the majority of them, you go to these little small towns where they got 10, 15 police officers. And then the guy that was jogging and stopped and went and looked into a vacant house, that was no major city. But the mindset has to be the same, but it has to start at the top. And unfortunately, there's nothing else going to change this unless you get that mindset that's changed at the top. The mayor has to be on board. We really got to take the politics out of policing. See, a lot of police chiefs react to politics. It's time for an election. So I want you to go out here and make a whole bunch of arrests because it's election time and people in Baltimore, I ain't saying Baltimore, I just use that as a name, but people in Baltimore need to see that we fighting crime. Then right after the election is over with, well, no, you need to back off a little bit. See, we got to take the politics out of police. And that's what I think that's one of the worst things. Chiefs of police across the country can't really do their job because you got politicians in the background pulling the strings. They telling them when to make arrests, when not to make arrests. You know, and that would be the first thing that I would suggest in any department. You got to take, if I'm gonna be your chief of police, I'm gonna be the chief of police, and I'm gonna do what I think is best for the city and not what best for your next election. And that's the mindset, and they have to go in there telling these people that, and it's got to not be self-preservation, because if you go in there and it's not for the benefit of the community, you're gonna do the same things. You're gonna run your department in a way that it's not gonna be beneficial for the community. I mean, it's not gonna. The people, the police officers, and what they fail to realize as leaders at the top, when you don't support not only the community but your officers on the street, then they sit back and they sit in their cars and they text and they watch TV and they park in a little area, and then what happens is they go to a call, they go to that call, and then they come back and they park again and they get on, because they don't feel a lot of times that they are appreciated. It's a lot of good police officers out there. I'm telling you, there's far more good police officers out there than it is bad. The bad ones are just so publicized. The media plays that up like a fiddle. See, the media part of this thing too. The media don't. It's so many good things out there that I've watched officers do, and then they turn around and they won't. You can't get them to put that out. You can't get them to publicize that. You can't. They don't buy ratings. They don't bring money into their station. So what it brings the ratings is, you see a police officer, they find a bad one, just like that one out in Minnesota. You find a bad one, and you play the wheels off of it, because that generates ratings for them. See, the media is part of this too. They play a huge role in how they report stuff. I've had situations where the media knew, right here in Richmond, knew that the outcome of a situation, but didn't report the whole thing because they wanted to generate all them ratings first. And then after the police start releasing their information, then they come back and then say, oh, but the damage is done at that point. You've already created a frenzy in these communities. See, the media can stir up a frenzy in a heartbeat. And it's not good for the public, and it's not good for the police department. Neither one of them. But I'm telling you, is nothing going to change, and it can be a small department, it can be a large department, but it still has to have that same mindset. You still got to be out there in the public. Like I said, if I was chief of police, nobody in my staff, on my command staff, would be sitting in the office. You better get you a good secretary, because that's going to be who's going to answer your phone and going to be in your office. The rest of you going to be out on the street. I wouldn't have one sitting in the office, because I ain't going to do that. I'm going to be out there in the city, all over the city, whether it's a large city or small city. I'm going to be all over the city of Baltimore, and I'm going to be in the community, and it ain't going to be just the nice communities. It's going to be in the communities where we have our issues and our problems. And everybody that worked for me, under me, all the way down to a sergeant, going to be out there with me. And I ain't saying they're going to be marching with me, but they're going to be somewhere in the city of Baltimore. Right. That's the only way you're going to get that trust. And I ain't talking about, again, for these days when you people come in for a few minutes and homicide happened and everybody run out there with all the leaders and all that. And then after they take the tape down, you don't see them no more. Now, your office going to be in the community every day of the week until the city, till the crime in the city falls, till we build that trust. Ain't nobody in my staff, on my staff, going to be sitting at a desk. Nobody. All of you. And you got to revamp these units that they have out there. I don't need jump out units. I need units. Don't get me wrong. We got units where we have to have that type of action, because everybody ain't good in the community. Everybody we got bad people. We got bad black people in our community that's bad for our community. Don't get me wrong by no means. There's some bad ones out there that ain't got no business being out our community because they make it bad for the other people that really want to live and have a peaceful life in their community. But everybody has to play a part. And that's whether you're a small department or a large department. You just got to do it on a grander scale. Like I said.
So I just want to say this, right? This is just my opinion. You spoke about like there are more good cops than bad cops. In my personal opinion, I don't believe so. That's my personal opinion.
I understand.
And I believe that the fact that the culture has been cultivated so long within the police department, when you go against it as a police officer, you're considered an outsider. Mm-hmm. And it's hard to sway the masses when the culture has been cultivated so long. So, and I'm not saying that there are, I had a police officer that was the exact same thing that you're talking about. That's what he did. And this is when I was young. He did the same exact thing that you're talking about. And this is why I always talk about him. Now, the same way you said that there are more good police officers than bad police, and you say it's a lot of bad black people, I say it's a lot of good black people who get a bad rap. Because you have a relationship with your officers that you can see the good side of them all the time. And yes, they may do something that looks bad. So it could be looked at like, oh, we don't act like that. He just had a bad situation. It's the same thing with a black person in the community. Like they could be really good to their community, but then they do something that puts them in a bad light. And of course, the news, social media, if it gets that big, that's how it's going to make them look. But I think that's where the perspectives clash at. Because I'm not saying you say it's good, a lot of good. I say I don't think so. I think I counted more bad than good. And if it was more good than bad, I would notice that also. And I'm speaking from somebody who's been on both sides of the fence, where I've experienced. Because I was doing what I was doing, I experienced that type of pressure from the police department. And now that I'm not even doing that, I still experience that from the police department. So it's like, I hear you and I support you because you're black just like me. But at the same time, I need more convincing.
Yeah, and I would say this, and if I said a lot of bad black people, I didn't mean it by that, because I will tell you it's only a small percentage of people that destroy the black, help destroy it. And I would say that based on, and I'm gonna tell you the same thing, just like you told me, I'm talking about based on like I said one time, I didn't want to be a police officer. And and then I would tell you the side from 28 years of law enforcement. And I've always been a community officer. From when my mindset changed very early on in my career, and my mindset changed that you can't lock the problem away. You got to work with people. And that's been every bit of about. I've been out there 29. It's probably been 26 years that my mindset has changed about that. But I will tell you this. I have, and I'll just break it down in Richmond, because that's where I can say Richmond, I can say Charlotte, I can say Wilmington, because I had experiences in all of those cities. Charlotte is a little bit bigger city too. But I will tell you that the media, when you say that you experienced a lot of negativity with officers, but I'm telling you that it's the part that we are failing is where we don't publicize those good officers out there. And I'm just being honest here. We don't publicize the good things that police do, but everybody see the bad stuff the police are. When we come in contact in most incidents with police that we see publicly, it's a bad situation. When you get stopped out there, it's, even for a ticket, nobody want a ticket. But when you get stopped, that ain't a good thing. That's gonna cost you money, get work from court and all that. So it ain't a good thing. You get a parking ticket, that ain't a good thing. But I will tell you that we need to, again, be more transparent, but we got to be more transparent on the other side, showing all the good things. I got called just 2 days ago. And even though I'm gone from the department, they said, well, hey, Burnett, we calling you back because we getting ready to give you a life-saving award. I helped me and my partner pull a girl back over on the flip side of a building, and she was getting ready to jump. She was in distress. She was on drugs. I could see that she was really struggling. And we sat there and talked to this girl. She was over the edge. This was the first time in my 28 years that I saw somebody. Usually people say, I'm going to jump. They try and get attention. But this girl, I could see in her eyes, this girl was going to jump off this 9th floor off the building. She was already on the other side, hanging off. And we sat there, we talked to her and communicated to her, and we got her to change her mind and brought her back over the other side. I mean, literally, when we first tried to pull her, she had went limp and was pushing off. So she literally wanted to jump off there. That stayed in the news one day. But if that would have been, if that girl would have fell off, I can tell you how the public would have played it. If that girl would have fell off that building with us holding on during the riot time, they would have swore off we threw off the building. They would have swore that we pushed her or we didn't do something right, and they would have crucified us. But the media and the public has got to give. We in order to make this thing work, it ain't no police officers ain't going nowhere. I can tell you that. Ain't nobody gonna get rid of the police. Totally get rid of police because we can't function if we get rid of the police. Right. Totally. But until we start working together on both sides of the fence and let the past go, and I know it's gonna still come up, but when it come up, we just got to deal with these bad ones that come out there. And there's some bad police, don't get me wrong, by no means. There's some bad police officers out there. And they make me look bad, so I don't want them around. I'll be the first one to deal with them if I had to. Because I don't want them around. And as my time as colonel, it's been a number of people that I've let go because they didn't treat an inmate right. They didn't do the things that one of the other programs that I'm advocate. Well, I ain't gonna advocate. I'm gonna do it once I win. For the first time in the history of the sheriff department, we're gonna have an office of inmate advocacy, and they're gonna advocate on the rights of inmates, making sure that they're being treated fair. When they leave there, they're gonna have information they need. They're gonna have somewhere to go. We're gonna work to make sure they got a job when they leave there. We're gonna try to make their life better than what they came in there, the way they came in there. We're gonna push that. So it's a lot. I'm telling you, I know it's hard when you, like you said, when you dealt with nothing but negativity with the police, it's hard to see it different. When I was younger, it was hard for me to see the police in a positive, because back then, you did what the police said. Police tell you to move, you move. They told you to shut up, you shut up, because they didn't have cameras and all that kind of stuff back then. Mm-hmm. But I'm telling you, if we, people like you, it's got to be part of the process. People like you have got to make sure that not only do you are part of the process of making sure that they're doing what they're supposed to do, but you're part of the process of being out there and being seen and being in their face. And if we don't do that, if we sit back and say, I just don't want to deal with the police, we gonna be spinning our wheels. People gonna still be getting killed by bad police. And but I've never been one. I'm gonna tell you this. I've never been one for this cop out saying that we need to train people. I shoot you in the back running away from me. What training is that? What do I need to train about knowing that I shouldn't have shot you in your back and you running away? They ain't training. That's just a bad police officer.
Let me ask you this. Yeah, let me ask you this, because I'm glad you brought that back up. I think when people say that, sometimes they're referring to a lot of these white officers. They are assigned. Now, Baltimore has some really rough neighborhoods.
Oh yeah.
So if you didn't grow up in those neighborhoods, you're not really going to know how to deal with those people. And so what we see is officers being afraid when they come into the community, and they shoot first, ask questions later, because they're trying to protect their life. And so I think when people are yelling, train these officers or take them into these neighborhoods before you put them out there to work. Because I'm gonna tell you, like, you could even be somebody who's visiting Baltimore. We know if you're not from here. In certain communities, if you come in and you're looking a certain way or doing something, that you're not supposed to do, you're going to get it. That's officer, whoever, is coming through. That's just the way that it is. So I think what people are really saying is make sure they get the proper training if you're going to put them into these inner city neighborhoods, because some of these guys probably didn't even grow up around this. So now they're coming in, and it's like, how do you? This is a totally different generation. I mean, this generation, I don't even know where they came from, because they just totally they different. They different people, and so you have to know how to deal with their mindset, how to approach them, and I'm listening to everything you say, and it's just so hard. It's almost like a dream, because over here, I'm telling you, it's different. When I go out and walk, I can't be. They know LadyJ on the street, but they have to see the LadyJ that will be street right along with them. Then I got to come sit in front of this computer and be, totally different. But it's certain ways that you have to walk and talk in order to get to go out in the street and come back home and and survive the day. So and like Gilbert said, being a black man, he got a master's degree, but in somebody's eyes, you're just a black man. So when I pull you over, I'm holding on to my gun. The least movement that you make, like the young man Philando who was just reaching for his wallet, blown away. And so there are a lot of great officers. I agree with you. But I think the climate now, especially in our bigger cities, is that these officers want to go home, which I don't blame them, And so we have a street here. Those who are from Baltimore will know what I'm talking about. Penn and North, Pennsylvania Avenue, North Avenue. Any given day, I can go there right now and buy drugs, do it right there on the corner, whatever I want. It's an officer sitting here, officer sitting over there, officer sitting over there in their cars. And, people, it's an open air drug market. And so, we are at a point now where it's like, you know what? I got to take care of me. So you see people walking around with guns and they're not registered. And you see people who are getting, becoming registered gun owners. We got a show coming up about that next week, because even for me, it's getting to that point where I'm thinking about that, because, it's different. And I'm sure Gilbert can talk about in New York is bigger than Baltimore, that it's just stuff going on that it's hard for me to even relate to what you're saying. I wish they had a whole bunch of you, or what you can do is maybe when our police chief is up, when his time is up, maybe you can come here, help us out.
And the thing about it is, and I hear exactly what you're saying, and I agree with you a lot. I will tell you that most officers, and I won't say all, because we got a lot of racists out there. There's racists on every job, not just the police department, but wherever you're at, racist prosecutors, racist police officers, racist judges. We got a lot of racists out there. But I would tell you that I think that most of the police that do shoot somebody do just what you said. It ain't out of that I don't like black people. It's out of, intimidation. They're intimidated by, when I walk to that car, I'm already on the defense, because they're assuming that this black person in this car is somebody that's going to harm them. And that's not, again, but that's not all officers. I know I've been partnered with all kind of officers throughout my 28 years. And I would tell you that I can only, in my 28 that I've seen, I know it's some bad ones. I know some bad ones on Richmond too. But you are absolutely 100% right. I don't think that they go out there with the. I don't think that most of them that go out there, not all. Again, let me repeat that, not all,
Right.
but I think that some of them. I won't say even most. I'll say some of them go out there with not the intent to kill somebody, but they go out there with that intimidation factor and they make a mistake. And the reason I say that because I was involved in a situation similar to what was going on. I was involved. I didn't do the shooting, but I was involved. And that officer that shot that guy had no intent to kill that guy. I know it. I could see it in his eyes. I knew the guy for years. He had no intent on doing that. But he made a mistake because of intimidation. And again, we can't have people on the force that put people's lives at risk like that. We again got to hold those type of people accountable as well. But when I go back to talking about the training again, you can't train a person to have a heart. You can't train it ain't no training for you to have that heart to get out there and deal with a black community. You a white officer, and we just using that as an example. You a white officer, and you in Baltimore, in one of the most deadly cities or corners. I say deadliest corners in the country, and you can't train somebody to have heart to go out there and do that type of work. And that's why when I say training, we can train them in the beginning. But you look at the guy in Minnesota. That guy was a 29-year veteran. He getting ready to retire, and he put his knee on that guy's neck, and the guy died from it. But that had nothing to do with training. That was just poor decision making. That's all that was. He just made a bad choice.
That to me, it was comfortability.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. It could have been that too. I agree with you.
It's like you done that so many times, was different from any other time that I did it. And I think when it comes to, like, if you say training, and what most people might mean is like cultural diversity, like understanding other cultures, understanding the behavior of the community that you're policing. Because if you come into my community, but you don't understand how we move, how we talk, how we react, how is that going to work? You're going to think everything we do is an act of aggression when this is how we communicated. You stood around, or you been, like you said, you played spades. A spade game could get really, really hectic, really loud, slamming cards. It gets animated. To somebody who don't know that culture, that looked like it's about to really go down.
Right.
And that's why that Chief Oliver at the time, he knew that what you were saying was the same thing. That's why he took 6 black officers and he put them in one of the worst high crime areas in the city of Richmond. Sometimes we got to, in order to build that trust, we got to do those, think out of the box and do those type things. I don't want you to go out there and arrest nobody. I want you to sit out there and play spades with them. We took some flack from other police officers. They come by and we sitting on the crate on the corner playing cards, and they riding by humping cars. We took some flack for that, but it reduced, in the long run, it reduced the calls for service. The shooting stopped. And believe me, I know what y'all do in Baltimore, but we get a lot of people shot up here, a whole lot of people, homicides every week. Just because we were #1 in the nation years ago, don't mean that now Richmond 2021, we just living the life up here. We get a lot of homicides up here, double homicide, triple homicide. But one of the things we got to focus on too, when we look at recruiting, where we recruit from, we got to look at our own communities. We got to get people like us in the communities that grew up in some of those neighborhoods. And again, I know that's hard because a lot of people see the police in a negative way and they don't want to be police. But we can't give up and say, that might work down in Richmond, or it might work in this little hick town down, but it ain't gonna work up here. That's the only way it's gonna work. If you don't get police officers out there, but the thing about it is, it has to come from the top. It has to work from the top down, meaning your leadership has to make sure that everybody is following the same mentality that you have. Now, if you ain't genuine with yours, if you sit up in your office as chief of police every day and you give orders out from the office site, then ain't nothing gonna happen. You're gonna get just what those police officers doing, sitting on the corner watching drugs go around. That would drove me crazy back in the day. I don't care. I think about all the risky stuff I did when I was back, but you wasn't gonna deal no drugs in front of me. And these kids out here in front of the house, and parents and grandmothers on their front porch, and they can't come out. It wasn't gonna happen. Just wasn't gonna. And we were number one in the nation for homicides at that point. But if it don't come from the top, then none of the rest don't mean it. And it needs to start not at just the chief of police, but it needs to start at the mayor's level. The person that's running the city. He got to direct that chief of police and say, this is what I want you to do. And then you got, as chief of police, you got to start thinking out of the box. All of this stuff that we do right here in our face, community policing and all these meetings that means nothing, it has to start. It has to start on the street. That's why I say, as a chief of police, you wouldn't be in. Nobody would be in an office. My building would be empty because there wouldn't be nobody sitting in the office. Because I ain't gonna be sitting in the office. Everybody gonna be out on the street, and that's the only way you're gonna change it. I don't care whether you're a small city. I don't care whether you're a large city, and you got to push it from the top all the way down to the level of the police officer. So me, I'm gonna get in the police car with you as chief of police. I'm gonna ride with you in the neighborhoods at night because I want to see what you're doing. I can ride with you in one night and tell you what type of job you're doing, just the way the community react to you. If I get in the car with you, and I've done this before, I get in the car with you, and every corner we pull up, the guys ain't calling you by name. If they ain't moving when you walk out there, if they ain't reacting to you like you not there, you ain't doing nothing. You just riding around, killing time, getting a paycheck. And I heard them Baltimore police officers get some big money up there on that level.
Well, you know what? It was. This is the thing. I'm going to call you Sergeant again, Mr. Burnett. This is the thing. Also, here in Baltimore, we had a gun trace task force. These guys were police officers who put so many black men in jail, in prison for crimes that they didn't even commit. You know, put stuff on them.
I heard about that.
So they could get charged. So now a lot of them are serving time right now. And I often wonder, you know, that in itself is going to have an effect on the community. But at the same time, I've talked to some officers, and the one thing that a lot of them have said to me is that they see a lot out in the street. You know, they see people that have been murdered. They see people that have been shot that they got to get to the hospital. They have to do CPR on people. They see a lot. And then they're expected to go back home to their normal life, their wife, their children, or whatever. And, you know, it was a good day, you know, and it wasn't, because they still have to process everything that happened during that day. And so a lot of the officers are suffering with PTSD. Yeah. And then coming back out into the community, having to deal with somebody spitting in your face. You know, we had an officer he just walked up to talk to some young men on the corner, that same corner I was telling you about. And before he could get 2 words out, they punched him in the face. And he hit the ground so hard, and they're videotaping the whole thing. So I think in the officers' defense too, I think a lot of them suffer with PTSD, not feeling respected, not feeling like the people above them, they're I don't know what you all are called, the people that are above them, but not feeling like they really get the support that they need. They're just told to go out into the street. And I'm gonna tell you something. Sometimes when I see these officers just walking around on the street, or many times here in Baltimore, I've had to duck into a store because they just start shooting at each other when they, you know, if you make them upset or people arguing, they just pull out a gun and start shooting. So you got to duck into something. But to see officers running, sometimes it's like, it's so archaic to me to even see them like running on the street with a gun. And I'm always thinking about, there's no covering on their arms, their legs. You just have this chest covering. And so a lot of times I do really feel bad for them, because they are literally putting their lives on the line when they go out there. Every officer is not bad because I have a lot of friends that are officers. There was a video that just came out on YouTube where I don't know if you saw it, Gilbert, where this officer, white officer, I felt like he did everything that he was supposed to do. I think it was in Minnesota, but I'm not sure. But he pulled this lady over because the tags, the car belonged to her boyfriend. When they scanned the tags, he had a warrant out, so they didn't know if he was in the car or not. So they pull her over. She gets out of the car and says, I'm just driving the car. He's not in the car. So I don't know why you pulling me over. And this officer gave her chance after chance. And see, the clue for me was when she kept saying, can I go in there? Can I get a cigarette? She reached in the car. She got her cigarette lighter. Then she reached in the car because she wanted to get her phone and call her mom. And he let her do all of that. And then when he went into her backpack, she had a pipe, she had some weed, some cocaine in there. And then he must have found out some other stuff on her. So he went to her to tell her to put her hands behind her back. And she started screaming and running around the car, yelling for help. She got in the car. He started tasing her. And she reached down and got her gun, pow, 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 shot this officer. It's all on video because his car, the camera on his car, the dash cam picked up everything. And he fell on his knees, and this girl, he had shot her. And this girl took off. I said she must have been high, but she took off and she went down the street and she hit a tree. So she ended up passing away. But when I watched the video, I was like, see, again, like you said, there are some good officers. And that's the kind of video that we don't see a lot of. We don't see that circulating around. Right. But I was happy that one got out and people were commenting like, you know what, I got to go with the officer this time. Because even when he was down, he just yelled officer down. He didn't try to shoot her anymore. He just let her go. And so there are good officers out there. But Mr. Burnett, I just really feel like we're in a different day and time. I don't know where these children came from, and they are just different, and they like next level different. I don't know. It's a lot that the officers can do right now.
I would tell you that another thing that I have planned for the sheriff department is starting what I've seen for so many years now and current, the past and current, is we have to start at an early age. Even law enforcement, as a community, we have to start with these kids at an early age. I ain't talking about when they get in high school and all that. We got to start so this program that I'm gonna come up with is going to be 2 phases. It's going for those trouble. And the program is designed to give judges alternative to putting kids into the system. And what it is, I'm gonna start at early middle school. And once I get to that early middle school age, for those troubled kids, I'm gonna have a boot camp program, and it's gonna be, all it is tough love. It's gonna give them everything they need, but it's gonna give them that structure. Because most of these kids out there, all they want is some attention for real. That's all they want is some real attention, some love from each other. So I'm gonna start this program at an early age. But the difference between my program and a lot of them that's out there now is we expect kids to get into these programs and 6 months out, we send them off into the world, and we think that they're supposed to just catch on and everything's gonna be lovely. My program is gonna be about starting in middle school, going through that boot camp program to give you that structure, school, education, all of that. But then after you finish that boot camp, you going straight into a mentoring program, but that's going to follow you from middle school, early middle school on up till you graduate. Now, everybody don't want to go to college. Everybody don't want to go to the military. But we going to focus on ways, once we determine where you want to go for those years, I'm saying years, I'm going to hire coordinators for every grade level. So that grade level, that one grade level is going to be different from the grade level 2. Because we don't want people to get stagnant with one person for the next how many years it's going to be till you graduate from high school. We want you to have a different experience with a different person, different set of ideas. So I'm a hire coordinator for each grade level, and it's going to follow them all the way up to they graduate. At the same time, once we determine what they want to do in life, we're going to help them get there. So if you want to go to college, we're going to make sure we got somebody helping you with sitting down with the SATs and all those score classes that you need to get to take that test to get into college. You want to get to the military, we're going to get you the highest score we can get you versus you going into the Army being somebody, an infantry soldier, which is nothing wrong there. That's what I was. But infantry soldier, but I'm going to get you in the Air Force where you got a technical job that you're going to get out and be able to use that when you graduate. If you want to go to trade school, then we're going to find some way to get you there. So we're going to track you from early middle school all the way to you graduate and get you off on your way. Now, at the same time, I'm a partner with companies around there. I'm going to start a 501c. I'm going to have civilians to run this program for me, and I'll file a 501c. And we're going to look for companies that will give us monies to help those kids. So when you get to graduation, you don't have the money to buy books. You don't have the money for your first tuition. That we got a fund that we can pull from to help you get there. Because I tell you, when I graduated, my parents, like I said, didn't have anything. So I ended up having to sit out a semester because we just didn't have the money. So that's how I ended up in the military. I joined the military because I needed that money to help me through college. So we're going to have somebody that ain't going to drop you off 6 months out. Now, I'm a realist. I know that everybody's not going to go through the program. Everybody's not going to graduate from the program. But I'm a realist. If I can save a few, then we still accomplish something. And we're going to follow, like I say, from early middle school, and we're going to keep you in that program as much as we can till you graduate from to that high school level and then go in the direction that you really want to go. Now, the payback is it's going to be an honorary. It's not going to be that you sign a contract with me, that you come back and you help the next person to get to that next level. You come back as a young mentor after you graduate, because you got to have people that can relate to these kids. You got to have people that can relate to them. You got to have ideas that they relate to. So I'm going to use technology to keep their attention, because that's what they're doing now. I'm going to use sports because we've never had a PAL program in the sheriff department, but I'm going to create a PAL program that they can keep that attention with those guys. But that program is going to follow them until they graduate, because I don't want to put you in there for 6 months and then 6 months out, you out of the program and you just, well, if it work out for you, good luck and all that kind of stuff. But then you out there with all those things in the community, it keeps drawing you back in. So I want to hold that attention till you graduate. So that's what it's going to take. A lot of money. I already know the city. You spending a ton of money anyway on all kind of other stuff that ain't working. So it's going to take some money. It's going to take some work to working with other agencies, Richmond Public Schools, because we got to have our teachers in there making sure that they're getting the education and keeping them on track. We got to have volunteers from the city, because we got to have volunteers that will come in and sit down with these guys and help them with their homework. Teachers that will come in. It's going to be a portion of religion. Now, we're not going to force the religion on them, but it's going to be a portion in there, and it's going to be an option. We're going to encourage you that you participate in knowing who God is. I ain't saying that we're going to make you no holy roller, because I ain't there. But it's going to be an option out there for you. And the only way that we can get these things to work is I got to work with other city leaders in the city to make sure that they're on track. If it costs us a few $1 million, hey, you spent a few $1 million on a program that did nothing but get you votes. We got to really, I'm gonna hold them to the fire, because I'm gonna do press release. Here's something that new in the city of Richmond that I want to do. And if you don't want to do it, you tell the city that that the kids ain't working. You put that out there, but I'm gonna hold them to the fire, because I'm a politician like they are. So the only people who can get rid of me is the public. So I'm gonna hold them to the fire, and I'm gonna say, hey, on TV, if you tell the people out there that's suffering in our community that you don't want to spend $3 million, to help fund a program that we've never used, never tried in the city of Richmond, but it's been proven to work in other cities. So you tell them that, and they're gonna have to be the ones to worry about getting reelected the next time, not me.
Now, Mr. Burnett, I really like you. I really like all of your ideas and everything. I think it's so great. So I'm sitting here listening to you. I got to take it, Gilbert. I have to take a trip to Richmond. I have to go to Richmond.
I'm thinking about the same thing.
Yeah,
You know,
you got it. I definitely got. I'm not saying I have to. I'm going to. I'm coming to Richmond because I need to. You know, I'm one of those people. I have to see it. You know, I hear what you're saying, but I got to see it. I'm a visual person. Yeah, I have to see it. So I have to get in touch with you. I need to come down to Richmond, and I need to do some coverage down in Richmond to really understand what you're saying and to see. Now, here's the thing. My mom and my relatives are from Richmond and Cumberland. So that's where they're from anyway. So I know about the area just from visiting down there, but I never lived there. But I know how to get around to Richmond and it's some rough spots down there. But I need to come to Richmond and just see all of what you're talking about, you know, with the police and everything. And when is the date that that you all run for office?
When I win on June 8th,
I like that. I like that.
When I win on June the 8th, that's the primary, and June 8th is when I'll be announcing myself as the next sheriff of the city of Richmond.
Okay,
I want to go down there because I need to. I'm not that I'm debating with you, but it's some stuff that I really want to hash out. Like, listen, you know, I need to know your honest opinion on this, and I will hope you will be,
exactly, Gilbert. That's why I'm
going as possible. Like,
that's why I want to go down there. I feel like we don't really have enough time.
Yeah, we gotta get deeper with this. We gotta get deeper with this.
Yeah.
And I will tell you that, you know, I am. This is what you get. This is who I am. And
I believe it.
When Bruno told me that, I said, now Bruno, there's not gonna be no show that they're gonna want to bash the police because I ain't gonna sit there. I'm gonna defend my
as you should.
My officers out there that you said something earlier on and the officers, I'm gonna tell you this. And it's just our training. After being in law enforcement so long, you as a total stranger come to our city and somebody tries to do harm. Most officers, I ain't gonna say all, but the most officers are gonna defend you with their life to make sure that you are safe. And that's just how we train. Even some of the bad ones, because it's in your head that they gonna just automatically, you're gonna react that way. So people want to go home to their parents. I got a daughter, and I want to see her until I'm gone from here from natural causes. But I have a daughter that I want to see, and I'm going to do everything I can to protect myself. And you know, I'm not going out there to beat nobody up. I'm not out there doing no harm, but I'm not going to let nobody hurt me because I got a family just as well as they do. And if it comes to that, then I'll deal with the public as if they want to scream or yell. But I'll be able to defend myself and say I did it because I did the right thing, and not because I was out there trying to do harm for somebody. When I would tell you this, if you come down here, when I was at the sheriff department, they thought I was the hardest colonel they'd ever seen, and I was. But it wasn't because I was trying to wanted them to really feel, you know, no pain or displeasure. I wanted to make it I wanted to be so uncomfortable that you didn't come back down there no more.
Right.
And when I left, and along with the current sheriff, when we left, some good things that we did for the first time, we got law enforcement accreditation. That's a lot of work. We reduced our assaults by 80%. We got funding for the inmates that when they were leaving, we put all we had over 100 different denominations when it came to religion. But the current sheriff, I'm telling you, is not only, and I hate to say anything, But she's not only doing a horrible job, but she is a liability to our city. The it's bad when you got 450 positions and you got 100 vacancies. Over
Wow.
100 vacancies. That's not turnover. That's management. When your officers you got 32 officers to a shift and only 13 of them coming to work. The rest of them calling out sick. You got improper releases down there. Drugs being brought into the jail. I was just told today that they just found a pound of marijuana in one of the cells today. It's a free fall. It's dangerous. The COVID is just there's no the 80% of the jail right now is COVID. Either on some type of quarantine or either they positive for COVID, and that's a public health safety risk because now these people in most cases from jail are going back to the community. They're going home to their family. They're going home to their kids. They interacting with people like us at grocery stores and all that kind of stuff. And I expected COVID to be in the jail. But when you don't have a protocol, when you don't have no protocol in place to make sure that things are being run properly, that's where I hold you accountable for it.
I'm sorry, my puppy is having a fit.
That's all right.
I'm so sorry.
Okay.
But yeah, I and I appreciate I just want to say to you that I know we asked you a lot of questions and everything. I appreciate the love and concern that you have for the community, and I do want to say that to you. And I appreciate everything that you're putting together to like the framework that you're putting together for what you want to do when you get into that position. And so I really appreciate that because we do need people who care, and we need to change the narrative of what our young people think about police officers, and take their fear away. Now, the one thing I want to say too is when you were talking about the schools and going back and really getting these children in school and talking to the grandparents, Mr. Burnett, most of the grandparents now, they're about 30. And so, it's like children having children. So it's like you got to take parents to school, you got to talk to the children. And that to me is where the big breakdown has come, because we got a lot of young men making babies. And it's babies making babies, and who's learning? How are they learning, or who's teaching them? And so they have the mentality and the mindset of young people. You have a child at 13, 14 years old, how do you grow? You're not an adult, so you're trying to raise a child, you're trying to go to school and all of that. So it's so much with it. And I really wish you well with your program, because I think that's going to be a big challenge. And I know in Baltimore, a lot of our children, and I used to teach, I taught for a long time. I taught adult education, and the majority of my adults could not read. They were probably on the first, second, or third grade level, and they were adults, but they had to count money and drug money and all of that, but they couldn't read. And so, it is so backwards right now. But I think what you're doing is great, and I hope you can have a lot of people around you to get this thing going, to make it work. Please keep your eyes on Baltimore. If our police chief, he's from Louisiana, if he decides to leave, then you go on here, we have to make sure we put Mr. Burnett's name in to come up here and do something, because we have a pretty good mayor. Our mayor was just elected. He just went into office in December, and he's a young guy. He's making some changes. So, we need somebody like you in a lot of our states, to come up and help. So I'm going to be in touch with you, because I like to travel, so I'm definitely coming to Richmond.
Yeah, definitely. I'd love to have both, especially when I win this thing. I want to make sure y'all come down there and
celebrate with you.
Absolutely. That's why I'm asking you for the date, because see, I got to put the dates in front.
I congratulate you on your win.
And be able to win, and then get my rest afterwards, after the celebration. So I gotta, put all of that together. But I'm definitely going to come down before your win. and I just want to come down. I have a cousin down there, so I got relatives down there, so I want to come and visit.
And do you have my direct cell phone? I'll put it up I'll send it to you through the private thing where you have both of y'all can have my direct cell phone number.
Appreciate that.
And we can keep in touch over.
Okay. You don't have to put it on here.
Nope.
Don't put it on here.
Will it pop up on?
Oh yeah,
you have the whole country calling you right now.
Yeah. And you don't want that. So we will get it. We can get it from you after the show, but don't put it up here because you never know who's watching up here. Run that. It's all kinds.
You don't want Van calling you.
No.
Not at all. but I definitely.
I'm just playing with you, man. I'm just messing with you, man.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So, but we definitely have to get you back on before June. We have to get you back on maybe sometime in May. We can get you back on to talk some more about what you're doing, and hopefully, I can get down, or maybe, this is the other thing, Gilbert, maybe I can go down there. I can do the show from down there too.
I can
do a show however you want to do it. However you want to do it.
Yeah, I can do a show in Richmond. So, any parting words you want to leave with everybody? I do know that a lot of people love you because they've been blowing up my phone. Because I don't even know how they got my number. They've been blowing up my phone saying, is this LadyJ? I'm trying to get on. So I just started texting people all of that stuff I sent to you. So I do know you have a lot of people who love you and want to see you win.
Well, I appreciate, like I said, I really appreciate just being on the show. And I think that we as leaders, and if you look at most of the major cities, you got black chiefs of police, and I think really they have got to come out of those offices.
Yes,
they got to come out of those offices, and they got to get down. They got to communicate not only with the community, but they got to work with the officers. They got to show the officers that they support them, because that's who's gonna support you. You got to make sure that you support them. I ain't saying supporting you doing bad things, but supporting you doing a good thing. So I enjoyed being on here, and I hope to see both of y'all again, and especially in the future. So
definitely,
you definitely will. If I promise you that I'm going to travel, I'm going to definitely be there because, like I said, I like to travel and I like to do shows, so I will definitely be there. Now, the last question I wanted to ask you is: are you all currently looking for, or do you know if you all are currently looking for officers, or if you have any positions open, if anybody is interested?
Oh yeah, we constantly hire in the city of Richmond, in both and their surrounding jurisdictions. We hiring for police officers, we hiring for sheriff deputies, and that's ongoing all the time. So anytime that you can get on the website and just Google Richmond, Virginia. City of Richmond Police Department, and pull up the city's department web page, either sheriff or police, and apply. But yeah, we definitely hire.
And how do you know how much the starting salary is? Because I know here it's not that high.
Yeah, it ain't. Unfortunately, it ain't that high nowhere. We might. The police department may start you out around 40, 45, 40, somewhere along there. I would tell you, most police officers on average may make about $80,000 a year, and that's because we make most of our money working part-time jobs. And you might see us in. I've known some to make $100,000. When I first came out of college, I was about 25 years old. And I thought I was rich because they started me out back then. I was making $32,000, but then I was working a ton of overtime. And at the end of the year, I made $75,000 straight out of college. And I thought I was the richest man in the world. So a lot of our officers do make their money up, and it's unfortunate if we have to work overtime to get that, because you need that downtime. You need that family time. And you know that's going to be one of my big pushes to get these deputies more money, because if I got you working round the clock, and when are you going to have that release that pressure? And that don't do the public no good, because then you go out there and you do something throughout, like you were saying, the PTSD types. So we got I think that's something that a lot of departments across cities, I will say cities, need to look at, is boosting their salary. Not because we think that officers should make all this money, but I think that a lot of officers, in order to survive, have to go out there and work nonstop. And if they work nonstop, then they ain't releasing, and they're not being home with their family.
Yeah.
And you need that. And the only way they can do it is they got to pay them a little bit more money, so they ain't got to go out there and hustle like that. And I'm speaking from experience.
Yep. Thank you so much, Sheriff Burnett. I know you're not sheriff yet, but we're going to speak it into existence.
Thank you.
So we're going to call you Sheriff Burnett. Thank you to all of. Now, if you get a chance, can you go back into the comments, because you should be able to see them. A lot of people had comments for you, and we weren't able to get into it. But if you go back on your Facebook page or YouTube, you should be able to see all the comments, so you can respond to it. And we definitely appreciate you coming on. Sorry, we went over a little bit of our time. But you know, we appreciate the opportunity of having you come on BMore Brooklyn, and we definitely will keep in touch. Don't go anywhere when the show is over, because I want to get your information.
Gotcha.
Okay. So you know, so we can set up a time when we can come down. Everybody, listen. This is BMore Brooklyn. I'm LadyJ. That's Gilbert Bell up in Brooklyn, New York. Yes. We got a good show coming up next week where we're going to be talking about guns. Should you carry a gun? Should you, you know, is it time to get that permit? Because it's so much stuff going on. So we're going to be talking to a professional who actually, he's an instructor. He has his own business, and he actually trains you and gets you ready to get your gun permit. So that's going to be on next week. But y'all, this Thursday, I have to tell y'all, we have shows, by the way. We have really great shows all week long. So make sure you tune in. But I can only talk about my show because everybody has their own stuff that they're doing at LadyJ Media. But on Thursday, ladies, we're having a paparazzi party. If you missed last week's party, Girls Night Out, you missed it. Gilbert, thanks for all your comments last It was fun, y'all. We had so much fun. So this week we're having a paparazzi party. If you want to be one of the girlfriends on the screen, just let me know. As long as you like to have fun. We don't want anybody on here who doesn't like to laugh and have fun, because that's what we do. Okay, so we're going to be on here. We're going to be having fun. Make sure you bring your favorite drink, bring your favorite pair of shoes, and whatever accessory, you know, if you just like to wear earrings or jewelry or whatever, earrings or necklaces or whatever, or all of it, bring it, because we're going to be having it, and it's going to be live like it is now. And we're just going to have fun like we did last week, and we're going to do what girls do. So make sure you join us this Thursday. That's going to be at 8:00, and it's called Girls Night Out. But the men can come on if they want to, because we're going to cut y'all up too. But we just had fun.
You know I'm coming to bother y'all.
We just had fun. We had so much fun last week. And then next week, ladies, it's going to be Girls Night Out. We're doing a makeup party. So we got a makeup artist coming in. So everybody have a great night. This is a really good show, Gilbert.
Thank you.
Thank
you,
Sheriff. Thank you so much. We appreciate you.
Thank you for having me. I'm gonna have to get to Baltimore and Brooklyn too. I got quite a few.
Listen, come on in, teach these guys something, man. You know,
exactly. You come on to Baltimore. I'll walk with you and walk you around, and we'll have Van come too. Because Van, she know these streets too, so we'll walk you around and get you out here. So everybody, y'all have a great night. Don't forget, y'all, we're gonna do the Married at First Sight review on Wednesday, because Paige is working my nerves and she went back to Chris. So we're going to have that review on Thursday, because I'm about to cut her up on Thursday.
You Married at First Sight.
All right, y'all. Have a good night. I'm LadyJ. I will see y'all next time. And we're going to go out with the music from John Hansborough. John is one of the hosts on our show. I love this song back in the day.
brother to come on. Some of their friends laughed because at Thursday they stayed out past. We played games like freeze tag and hide and go seek. Your grandmother was sweet, there was always something to eat. Back when we said, yo, beef squash, man, I thought that was deep. To squash a beef and see them in the street with no repercussion, what's the malfunction?